good, y'all? It's Forrest here with Urs Truly, and today we're doing things a little bit different. We went back to school with this one. With a very special guest. Please welcome Prat.
Yo, how we doing, y'all? My name's Prat, period. I'm a student here at Georgia Tech, and yeah, I make music. Word.
All right. Since you brought up tech first, we're just gonna jump into tech. What would you say like the tech community has been towards you in terms of support?
You know, it's been really good, honestly, throughout the years. It started off kind of rough though, 'cause I came to the school, and it's a smart school, man. Like, there's so many people that are doing their crazy degrees, and it was hard going from that to being like, hey, I do that stuff, but I also do music too. You know what I mean? So people were like, what? You do music? Like, you're a brown boy doing music. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. But eventually, once I found my people, once people like actually gave me a listen, like, it was really supportive, man. Like, people understand how much hard work goes on out here, and they treat that with respect. So I think once you find your right people, and once I did, find my roommates and stuff like that, it's just been locked in ever since, bro. But I love this place. Would never trade it for anything, man.
That's what's up, bro. That's also very interesting because like when you do think of tech, it's a school known specifically for its academia. And there's not a lot of room, I feel like, that people give their attention towards when it comes to like a creative like pursuit. But I saw I forgot where I read it, that your teachers were like telling you maybe you should prioritize one over the other. So I want to ask, what was that like? And also, when you were starting to feel more confident to start sharing your music, who was in your support system to like kind of help you like grow and feel confident enough to do that?
So, like, a lot of people, like teachers, especially in high school, honestly, were like, you can't do music. Like, you got to focus on one thing over the other, right? Like, there's no career in music. I've heard that from parents, heard that from friends, family, teachers. But, you know, the bigger you get and, like, the better your music gets, everyone starts switching their opinions and mindsets. But I have, like, a couple people that truly have stayed with me from the start. Like, one of my best friends right now, his name is Josh Blooms. He's my roommate, and yeah. So he did FTS off the new album. We have a couple songs together, but he truly like got me into like making music in Atlanta, and like I didn't know this dude at all. I found him on GT 2025 like Instagram page, and I hit him up, and like, I saw he did music, and like he's from Buffalo, New York, and he just like came down here, and yeah,
Buffalo?
yeah, if you're from Buffalo. And then like I remember like the first like couple months, like everyone's going out, they're partying and everything, and like me and this dude, like this is the first time ever where like I had a homie like doing music too, who's also like really good, similar styles. He listened to rap, and I didn't really know much of that, so I gave him some of my taste, he gave him some of mine, but we just connected so deeply like with the music. Instead of going out, we were like, you know what, we're just gonna cook this weekend. We're not gonna like go to these frat parties and everything that everyone else is doing. We're gonna spend some time here, and like he's been just an OG day one. And after that, I'd say my family. My dad, honestly, he supported me. He started off playing, the banjo, and he's like an amazing vocalist, sings Hindi songs like all the time. But he's always just like supported me in every direction that I go with anything. But his biggest thing is he wants to see me succeed. So it's a lot of pressure. You know what I mean? Like being part of that Indian culture as well. It's like pressure all angles. Like you got to do good in school. You got to do good in whatever you're doing. So he created a lot of pressure, but I think without that pressure, I wouldn't be where I am today. But yeah.
Bro, I feel like that's what's unique about your story specifically, is because I feel like what you're doing, like, there's not a lot of like brown boys who have been like necessarily down that pathway, and the ones that have, there's only select few. But to have your dad be in your corner like the whole time, and your roommate Jay Bloom,
Yeah, Jay Blooms,
crazy Jay Bloom's Buffalo.
Buffalo, New York.
Did he put you on like some Griselda or like fucking some West Side Gun shit?
West Side Gun for real. Some other artists up there too, but he got me into rap. I think that Atlanta just got me into rap. Like before I came here, I was just like an indie, just like I used to listen to Rex Orange County a bunch, stuff like that. So yeah. Honestly, like everyone had that phase, bro. But like came here, and like the environment like seriously changed. Like I hated Travis Scott. Like I hated Drake. I was like, ugh, sicko mode, and then like yeah, I was like, and then I went to my first show ever a Don Toliver in Atlanta, $35 tickets. One of my huge inspirations right now. $35 tickets. He brings out Gunna, and then he brings out Trav after all like the Astroworld shit, and like it was crazy.
Like his first time back.
Yeah, first time back. So that was absolutely nuts, and it was like moments like that, just like rap music, just like kind of like infected like what I was doing and like the stuff I was like listening to, and even like kind of some of my music too. You know, I have some rap bangers here and there and stuff like that. You know, I try to keep it, you know, fluctuating with the music that I'm making, right? But no, it's the city has just completely changed me from the start, man. It's I fucking love it here, man.
Dude, hell yeah. I noticed some of the rap songs on Code Switch, which were like, yeah, Snakes and Sons, you rapping a little bit right there. And then not the last 3 songs of your album are very like different, like versatile wise. Like 2 of my favorites are towards the bottom. There's 7 C's, which I fucking love that one. And then I think the other one was Ashtrays. Yes, Ashtrays. And those are more of like your indie side, I feel like. But since we're talking about inspirations and also the different like types of versatility that you incorporate into your art, what would you say are 3 albums that have influenced you as a person and your style?
Joji, Nectar. That album is so good. And I remember just like senior year of high school, just like listening to that a bunch, and like right like when my music started like really taking off before tech and stuff, and like my friends back home, we like did a beach trip, and like just he didn't my homie, like his name is Jackson, he actually did all the photos for CODESWITCH. He goes to like UNC, no UFSC, but he didn't have a radio, he didn't have anything in his car, like no aux or anything. He just had the Nectar album like on CD, so we just listened to that straight on repeat, and that's an amazing album. So Nectar, I think Blonde.
Okay, yeah.
And the R&B side of it is just something I like. Like honestly, my favorite songs to listen to and make, like even off the album, are like Ecstasy and like Blessings and stuff like that. Like just like a straight R&B, like Bryson Tiller kind of vibes, you know. So I put Blonde, and then I can't even think, bro. I think Joji has just like played a huge part. There's a couple artists. Gene Dawson. What's the album with the bullfighter?
Fucking Bad Sports.
Bad Sports, bro. That album that is probably the most like impactful album of all time. Dude, that album is probably most impactful. You know, I think just the rawness of Bad Sports, just like I think, and even Nectar, and you know, I wouldn't say Blonde, you know, just because that's settled a lot and that's like later, but like Bad Sports, just like it's being like his first album. Yeah.
Studio album, bro. It's crazy.
Yeah. So that's where like honestly I feel a lot of just like CODESWITCH is about, just like raw, just like, you know, deep to the heart, emotional, and like you can tell just like from songs like 7 C's and such, just like how much like how deep we're trying to get, and like how like cutthroat or like, you know, just heart stabbing we're trying to get sometimes for those songs. But yeah, I'm glad you enjoy 7 C's though, bro. That's like that's been getting a lot of like fan love recently, and like I've been loving that so much. Very Tame Impala vibes. I was kind of going in there. Very psychedelic, Pink Floyd, you know.
Very psychedelic.
Yeah.
I guess we're gonna segue into production now, because this whole album was produced by you.
Most of the songs.
Most of the songs.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. No, the production, especially the indie side of your production, I'm a huge fan of. It reminds me of like, for on the topic of Bad Sports, like West Coast inspired, which I do hear in your music.
Okay.
Very West Coast inspired on the indie side.
Okay.
On the indie side, like I hear like a Jaden Smith Cabin Fever like vocal over these dreamy guitar like rhythm parts, bruh. So we're gonna talk about your production style and like how much of CODESWITCH, before you, I guess, showed it to anybody else, got like their opinion or any help on it, like did you have?
I guess, you know, like the first couple songs, the way the album came out was through like my production, like Snakes and Sons, Ecstasy, you know, other songs I made early on, Ashtrays and stuff like that. Those songs were just like me in my bedroom, just like with the guitar kind of thing. And, you know, production, I value like huge parts of production. Like even one of like songs that I'm listening to and stuff, you know, if guitar and just spacey and like make sure that everything has a lot of reverb, and something that like I've been tackling a lot on with Code Switch, different from my singles before, is like, I felt like I was just a single artist, you know what I mean? Like, I dropped a single and, like, they all had the same kind of, like, vibe, that Steve Lacy kind of thing. It's like, you got a chorus, you got a verse and a chorus, and I was like, you know what? I want to branch out. If I want to start the album off with the 1.5 minute guitar solo, I'm going to do that, you know what I mean? Like, I want to, take those risks and really just go for it, so huge part of Code Switch was about taking risks, and and I think that tied along with the whole theme of like Code Switch, and I'll give a little bit introduction about no, that's pretty.
Damn, it's like that one Young Thug out at the he goes like skirt for like 17 seconds, bro. That shit was so long.
No, just to give a little context about Code Switch and like what like it means.
How did you come up with Code Switch?
Okay, so good question. So Code Switch from the beginning in and of itself is just exploring your different sides of your personalities and these different, identities that you have that all come together to make one sound, right? Being in a tech school like this, like I was thinking of something, I heard a professor say code switch in class. He's talking about, I'm in a CS class and he's talking about code switching, between different programs or stuff like that. And I kind of hit me in a sense of like I have these so many different sides of me. I have to balance these different identities I have, but they all accompany Prat, right? I have my Indian culture, but then sometimes I have to code switch, and when I'm hanging out with different kind of people that I'm not at home with, that's a different kind of side of me. And then also like in the frat, or like even hanging out in class with tech kids, or even with music, like hanging out with people like you and stuff like that. I don't want to say I put on a different face, because it's all one Prat, and that's kind of what I wanted to do with Code Switch. And I found that I kind of thought about it earlier this year, right before like the summertime area, just because I was hanging out with like these different groups of people, and I was like, you know what, I was having a troubled time of like, dang, am I like not me? Because I'm like so many different me's. Yeah. Like, but then it's all just one me. And that's kind of what I wanted to do with the genres, like all the different genres and like my versatility and stuff like that. Kind of take advantage of being all these different Prats coming together into one Prat kind of thing. So it's kind of where it all started.
I've struggled like with the whole like code switching thing as well. I know for you it's probably a little bit different, because you said over the summer you're hanging around these different types of groups. Over this past summer you had an internship with Johnson & Johnson, right? Yeah. I'm already knowing the second you leave there, it's there like the world is getting a different type like side of Prat. So what do you see like for you personally the future will look like, especially as you try to navigate the decisions of wanting to pursue life as an artist, which is your dream, and then 500 connections on LinkedIn? Like, you know what I'm saying?
I get you. It's something that goes through my head a lot, and I'm trying to take it one step at a time, honestly, just because I know that I love doing this music stuff. Like, it doesn't feel like work is the thing, and that's what I love. Like, one of my biggest worries is like I'm gonna be a corporate bot or something, going to consulting. I have some like job offers in consulting and stuff. Like, I'm gonna do that, work my 9 to 5s, come back home. What am I gonna do after that, right? The only thing I have left is like making music and stuff like that. So it's hard to balance it all, but it's like an escape sometimes in music with all the school stuff and all this work stuff, just because I've grown up on being studious and being academically smart. And I did the internship with Johnson & Johnson.
Crazy pull, by the way. That's fire.
No, it was sick, but the drive was like an hour and a half every day there and an hour and a half back. So I woke up at 6 a.m. I would have a cup of coffee, and then I'd have like the album and like beats playing like in the car ride the entire day, and I'm like thinking about lyrics and writing stuff down. And like in the moment I was like, damn, like I hate this drive. But then it kind of like had paved a way, right. Kind of like did some good stuff at the end. So it was tough being at work, and like something I've done in like my past 2 internships and like even like school and stuff is like I'll have like my boss like at these internships come up to me, and he's like, hey, I like your music and stuff. And I'm like, no, you're not supposed to know that. Yeah. Like, I'm not really I'll mix those stuff up. Like, if if it arises and like the time comes, like work and music and stuff like that. But I like keeping it separate just because, like I said, I'm able to code switch so fast into that and trying to work my 9 to 5 to do my 5 to 9 with music.
Right.
Trying to, get a signing bonus and like deck now in the studio. And then eventually, hopefully one day music kicks off and I can, still have the degree, and just do my music thing too. So that's the plan, hopefully.
Bro, that's so crazy. I don't know if the mic can pick that up, but like your boss like shouldn't know who Batman is when you're coming into work as Bruce Wayne, But aside from the professional aspect, we're going into like more of who is Pratt. Already we had this question like off screen. Where did you get the name Pratt? I'll kind of let you explain.
Okay. So, my real name is not Pratt. My real name is Pratyaksh Verma. So, I was just born with that name, but Pratt came along when I moved from India to here. I was in like first grade or like second grade or something. My teacher, was like reading out the thing, like she's like doing attendance, beginning of class. She gets to my name, like it's the last name on the page. She says, she doesn't need to say anything, and then she says, "All right, we're gonna call you Pratt." And I had no choice, I had no option, and ever since then, I just been known by Pratt my entire life.
She code switched you.
For real. No, I had no. I literally had no choice, so I kind of just went with it. But it kind of fits, I think. Like, and now everyone just called me Pratt. It's like basically my real name now. And then, and now it just became Pratt. Period. So.
I can't believe your teacher just like gave up off the rip, bro. Yeah. Wait, what grade was that again?
I was in like second grade.
Perfect, bro. Because second grade's also when you got your first guitar, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you started on guitar and then you entered like drumline because you were in band in middle school?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're getting all the pieces together to like fit the role of like a producer who knows what the fuck he's doing, essentially. How has that like helped you, and also like how are you experimenting now with production since you've kind of been sitting with it for so long?
No, yeah. Going from guitar to like, so I knew I always just like picked up instruments fast. So I guess to like just give the whole come up of like how, I really got into music. It started off, in second grade, getting a guitar, doing my first talent show in in second grade. I sang Till I Forget About You by Big Time Rush.
Oh, yeah.
Banger. And then kept doing that, got into, doing band in middle school. Took a break from guitar, got really, really heavy in a drum line, past high school, and I think that's what has helped the most. Like, I was really, really into it. Like, my high school, we were, like, top 12 in the world for drumline. So, for Side Central. So, like, we were cooking in there. So I was, drum captain, and then I got here, the tech, was drum captain here at the marching band, and then was teaching drumline too for a while, and that he's had a huge part in terms of rhythm and understanding like how rhythm really fits in the space that rhythm needs to occupy, as well as in terms of rhythm, understanding crescendos and decrescendos and what different dynamics really mean. Really took a sense of like, hey, like, because the thing with drums, right, is there only one tone. You play loud, you play soft, but you can tell a story with that, with like jumping around between. So I've kind of been taking aspects of that just like all over. And then guitar kind of, I was really, I was pretty self-taught with guitar, but been playing for like so long, definitely gone into like the jazz vibes, play a lot of jazz guitar. I was like, I did jazz drum set in high school and stuff like that. So, I always keep music production and like recording at the forefront of what I have. I try to make everything, as live as possible. And I think that combination of like my soundscape with like, live music combined with electronic, synthy, dreamy stuff like that. I think that combination, is what I'm aiming for, what like a lot of my favorite artists like do, and what I'm really trying to do. So yeah, I also, just recently joined a band, 220, Atlanta. It's like my frat band, just a bunch of fraternity brothers, but we've done a couple of house shows here in Atlanta. Like, has been super duper fun, but gets you to understand music from a whole different perspective, a whole different level than being in a studio. So I'm trying to, just gain as much knowledge about production as I can, and that's kind of where, I dove into with Code Switch in terms of production, like how much can I actually go, how risky can I get, how much can I learn, um, what do I want to do production style wise, like if I want to make a house beat, like why don't I make a house beat, it's kind of things like that, has being with music my entire life. I got, kind of tired of it, kind of old with it, just because I was doing it for so long in terms of like playing it. But I was like, let's expand our knowledge, let's build more, let's see more of what the world has to offer in terms of production.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where my head's at, really.
Because I saw your band play when I met you at Veranda.
Yeah.
I saw in the weeks after we met, you were playing with the band, when I thought you were like a solo artist.
Yeah.
So, how has that transition been playing with them, and can they keep up?
So I kind of run that whole show there. They're my boys, but they're there's the guitarist. He's pretty good. The bass is pretty good. The drummer, he's a new kid. Kind of young, but I'm really big on like pushing it and being a leader, and like I got that from like being drumline captain and stuff like that. Like just pushing, just pushing the people around me. I think the top 5 people you have around you is like the people that's you surround yourself is like who you'll become, right? So, I think that the best friendships are one that, where you can grow together. And I even like take that in a music sense as well. Like, you don't want me to be disappointed. I kind of will take that disappointed father kind of role and like with those kids and like, help them out and, just be there for them. And, like I said, doing that with the solo stuff is very different because you can like learn a lot about other people's music, other people's taste. And but in the solo, when it's just like in your room and like lights are off and you got a candle on and you're like just making songs, like that's a completely different vibe. And just the raw feeling of like 2 guitarists, a bassist and a drummer just like hitting a note together like really, really loud just feels good like in here, man. So I'm trying to get all aspects of it too. And I think one of the things I want to incorporate more into the future is essentially getting other people to play instruments and do my production on my songs, right? Because right now I do my old stuff, but then I want to hear what other people have to offer as well, right? Like, yeah. Like, I'm going to play the drums how I play the drums. Somebody else is going to play it completely differently. That could change the whole entire song, you know what I mean? So kind of want to dive into that as well.
Talk to me a little bit about the South by Soul performance. I like went through their page and they do predominantly rap. So to see you on that page with like some nice production behind it, it was kind of refreshing, but also it seems like it's not something they're used to. So tell us like what it was like to get that and how it was with those guys.
That was around like 2 years ago, I think, but that was Paradise was my first like big song that like it broke 1,000 streams, it broke 5,000 streams, and it broke 10,000, and it was like the first time where I was like, whoa, like people are actually listening to my music. South by Soul hit me up, Soul London, he hit me up and he was like, yo, I want to bring you out to the studio, bring you out to the place, record a video. I remember walking in, this is actually a really funny story, but I walked in, there was 2 rooms to like the studio. There's like room 1 where they were shooting a music video, room 2 where they're doing like the actual, recording of the South by Soul stuff. I walk into room 1, like I got my photographer with me. There's like a bunch of strippers there, bro. Like they're like throwing ass. There's like rappers. There's like homies like smoking and like it's crazy. I'm like, am I in the right place? Like what am I doing? I'm like I just made a song about like living in paradise and shit. I walked out and I realized it was in the other spot. So I've kind of dealt with that my entire time here, and I like taking it from a positive lens, being like being in a city like rapping stuff. I'm not in New York or not in the West Coast where there's like a huge kind of indie scene and a huge like my style kind of stuff going on there. But when people listen to me, I think being surrounded in a huge rap space like this, I think they can see the authenticity of that all and realize that I'm making soundscapes. I'm making this entire like sound and whole entity that I want to bring out to everyone. People hear that in terms of production, in terms of like my genre and stuff like that. So I kind of embrace it all. That's kind of where my mindset is. But of course I love the rap scene, and I definitely want to get more into that. Spent some time just rapping more and writing more lyrics and stuff like that. I think I did that with the album. Confessions, the first song was like the Like, I'm trying to really spit like deep bars, even with stuff like FTS. Fuck that shit. I'm trying to get a flow down in there. So just really trying to expand it all. Yeah.
There's hope for you, bro. There's definitely hope, because I'm not sure if you're familiar with Black Hibiscus.
Yes, I am.
Okay. He's this artist that graduated from Tech.
Oh,
We just interviewed him on Friday.
sick.
He went to Tech. He went to Tech for industrial engineering. He finished. He moved to New York, and now he's doing like his music big time. He's doing his thing. And y'all remind me like a lot of each other. So when we were doing that interview, I mentioned your name to him. There is hope, because I know you're in this bubble where like rap. It's Atlanta. You got Atlanta at your back door.
Yeah.
Predominantly rap people. I'm not sure what they really listen to on Tech at Tech, but FTS, I definitely heard some of those inspirations. And when I was going through my recommendations, there's this one artist who you kind of fit this pocket for me a little bit. His name is Krush.
Oh, I love Krush. That's like an OG, like for me.
real.
And he's drops bangers on bangers, and he produces his own stuff too, right? And his voice is so good. But I think he's one of those artists that just like capture the vibe. You know what I mean? And like that's a huge part of what I'm trying to do with my sound. And like, I'll check out this Black Hibiscus dude too. But I think a huge part of artistry is, understanding that to be exceptional, you must be an exception, right? You must get out of the bubble. You must, really open your eyes and get out of being the normal like everyone else, right? So that's kind of where I'm taking my whole music thing. If I really want to, get far ahead, I got to be different. I got to stand out. People will see that. Hopefully, I think they will. I think Krush does that also, and there's a bunch of artists that do that too. So many artists.
I'm glad you know Krush, of course, bro. Because like I forgot what song it was, but I was like, he needs to hear this shit. Good thing you already have. But top 5 favorite foods.
Whew, great question. Number 1, wings.
Okay. What's the seasoning though?
I'm a big spicy guy, so I'll do anything that's pretty on like the spicier end, like some. Oh no, I hate lemon pepper. I'm sorry. I fuck with that garlicky stuff. Some like spicy garlic kind of thing. There's a cool wing joint over here like nearby, but it's called Trap Wings.
Trap wings.
Yeah.
Oh, we got the cosign over there.
Yeah. Word. No, that's pretty good. Okay, wings. Pizza. I think like just a nice, just like pepperoni, man. Pizza. There's a cool spot near Tech too, Rocky's Pizza.
Okay.
It's a Eagle spot. Yeah, the place is.
Cosign.
Yeah,
Another
there you go.
cosign. So the
There you
man's
go.
got good taste.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll just say top 3.
Top 3. Okay, number 3, a cookout tray, 2 chicken quesadillas, Cajun chicken wrap, and off the secret menu they got jalapeno cheese fries. There you go. Man, I'm hungry right now too. Like.
I know your stomach be hurting. All the top 3, Jesus. All right, what would be your final message to people that don't know who Prat is? What do you want them to know about you? And what do you have coming?
Yep. So, my final message to everyone is, yours truly. Shout out to these guys. Thank you. All sick,
Thank you, bro.
sick AF. They're really, really cool. Definitely want to keep working. My final message on who Prat is and what I do. That one.
Or that camera.
I'll say this again. To be exceptional, you must be an exception. Really dive into your sound. Really dive into what you love doing. That's what I like doing. I love just being authentic and taking big risks and really, creating, I've said this word a lot recently, but a soundscape, you know what I mean? Like a landscape, but for sound. And, somebody needs to put their headphones on and they listen to my music, and I want them to hear that this is Prat. I've never heard anything like this before, and I'm going to keep enjoying it. And I think I'm on the path for that, and I think it's doing really well. And I think CODESWITCH is a great project to check out, if you're into that kind of indie R&B, alternative, dreamy kind of vibe. So give it a listen. Let me know. Follow me on Instagram, prat.verma. And yeah, peace out.
Ooh. Thank you so much for being on the show, bro.